in a beautiful campsite between Sedona and Flagstaff. And I just spent an incredible day interviewing one of the Vikings who I've heard about from a number of different people over the years. And we had just an incredible conversation and hung out with he and his wife. And I learned a lot of stuff about Viking. And as I'm in this sort of first month of my cross country tour, it really gives me a lot of opportunity to reflect because I've been working with kids now. I've had events at JPL, libraries. I visited with a number of different Vikings in their homes, learning more about them and the mission. And I feel good about the tour. I feel like there really is hope. The people that I talk to across the country from all kinds of different walks of life, a lot of them are service personnel that I'm interacting with on my journey. Coffee shops, Mod Pizza, gas stations, Costco, campsites. I really do think that there's hope. And space, the universe, has everything that we need in it. So if we can take the time to reflect, now that's interesting. Wow. I, I'm off of a tiny highway and a truck just drove by, blaring its horn. And I looked over, and on the side of the truck it says safety, which is pretty funny. Anyway, um, it just goes to show you that even if there's people that are willing to do things that are not safe or not kind or are self-centered, maybe focused more on getting somewhere on time as opposed to doing the right thing, that we really can achieve our dreams, not just in aerospace, but our personal dreams as well. There's so many opportunities right now. Even though the budgets have been cut, the momentum is still out there. There are great minds that want to solve the problems of going to other planets. There are great minds that want to solve the problems of the challenges that our own planet is facing. Um, Climate change, global hunger, water and resource challenges. We do have enough. If we can just stop and reflect a little bit and think about what it is not only that we have to offer, but look at what other people have to offer. The scientists that have worked so hard since the 1960s even to examine life in other places, on other planets, are also contributing to understanding all of the intricacies of life on our own planet. Extremophiles here on Earth, microbes, microbiomes inside of our own body. All of these things are linked together. And I believe, just like the technology that we develop in order to go to space, everybody talks about Teflon, but there's a lot more. There's communications devices. There's imaging technologies inside your phones and your cameras. There's fuel and resource utilization. There's so many different things that are developed for space exploration that are applicable here on Earth as well. If you're interested in it, whether you're 5 years old or 80 years old, even if you're just curious, there are some wonderful free resources to learn about different space topics as well. So before you make a judgment about whether or not to go to space, think about all of the things that it has to offer. because I do believe that we can truly come together as a planet, as humanity, if we listen and observe. It looks like we've got some people online. Hello, and someone from Indonesia. Hi, Indonesia. If anybody wants to say where they're from, that would be lovely. I'm here from planet Earth, number one, and from Oregon. And I encourage all of you to look closely at our planet and examine all of the beautiful things around us. I mean, I'm sitting in the woods, it's gorgeous here. But there's beautiful things in the places that we create together as well. So I'm about to head out on my journey again, heading up to Flagstaff, going to talk to some folks up there, and then to New Mexico, Albuquerque, where I'll be doing a talk there. The work that I did with the kids with Serena of Taking Up Space was fantastic the other day. What a great group of girls. And boy, I've had some really amazing young people at some of the sessions too. At CSN Planetarium, there were a couple of very bright kids. One of them even knew what an RTG was, which is pretty cool. If you don't know what an RTG is, go ahead and look it up. I'll give you a hint. It is a form of power. And again, I think that the possibilities are endless. Oh, hey, it's Lewis. Great to see you out here. So many amazing things are being done in our NASA centers right now. I mean, I could name 50 people, one of whom is on right now, who are doing incredible work, scientific research. NASA Ames, Goddard, Langley Research Center, JPL, Lewis, Johnson, Kennedy Space Center. All of these places have had incredible impact, not just on space exploration, but on planet Earth. Planetary protection, which is really interesting, is not just what is it that we're going to do when we go to another planet and how do we protect potential life forms that we find there, but it's also what do we do if something from another planet comes to Earth. So that kind of technology is incredibly important. And NASA Ames has been a researcher in that from the very beginning, from the earliest days. Same thing with Jet Propulsion Laboratories, and Kennedy Space Center had their own planetary protection program as well. All of these things are really, really important to planet Earth. And if you think about it, planet Earth is just another planet, a pretty special one, but it is a planet, and who knows what else is out there. We've done a lot of research on Mars. We have not yet sent another biological investigation back to Mars, which I really believe that we should. To talk about the Viking mission for just a minute, we examined the possibility for a certain small set of biological responses in 3 instruments on the Viking mission. And when you design an instrument to go to space, you have to design it 5 to 10 or more years in advance of building it, launching it, and then utilizing it on that planet or in that resource. Oh, we've got some comments. I'll get to them in just a minute. It's hard for me to read. That I will say to Shane that the words on my phone are really, really tiny. So reading the comments is a little difficult, but I'll do that in just a second. But talking just a little bit about the Viking biology experiments. When we were looking for life or biologic organics on Mars, we could only search for the parameters that the instruments we developed could look for. So with the inconclusive result, it was not a negative result or a 100% positive result from all instruments, but it was not a negative result across the board either. understanding that what we were looking for was just a small set of characteristics that might indicate biologic organics. So before we go and do any more potential contamination to the surface of Mars, it's really, really important that we do more investigation about the biologic organic possibilities. And we've got craft in a number of interesting places, but let's follow up and send another instrument. So, okay, I'm going to go back and try to read some of these comments. And let's see, we have Australia. Hey, Australia. Hey, you know what? I had a great time visiting Australia and the folks in Canberra who worked on the Deep Space Network communications. And what an incredible group of people. Not only were they working on all of the missions, and they continue to this very day. So all missions from NASA are actually international missions. And I think that's really important as well to talk about. NASA does not do this alone. Canberra and Madrid, Spain both have communication centers that are absolutely critical to all space missions sent from NASA. So that aspect of it, yeah, down under, is really, really important to understand. Not only that, but the scientists and the engineers that have been working on NASA missions have also come from all across the world. Some of them are first generation Americans that came to the United States and worked on the Viking mission. And yeah, go DSN. And some of them are actually immigrants from other countries who were naturalized and worked on the Viking mission and on other missions today. So the missions that we work on here in the United States are foundationally influenced by nations all across the world. And so it's really, really important to understand that the only way that we have been successful is really because of these diverse perspectives. Different schools across the world and across the country have cultures, just like companies have cultures and schools have cultures. And those institutes cater to and nurture different kinds of minds to develop. For some students out there, you may have started at one university and thought, well, maybe this isn't the right fit for me, and gone to another one. Sometimes that's because of the culture of the university or college. Same thing with companies again. But because of the differences in schools, in institutes that we work in and study in, our minds learn and grow and develop in different ways. And so having the benefit of the training and education from other countries is deeply important in order to solve some of the problems that we need to go to space and also to protect our planet here on Earth. And it's really important to understand that a lot of what NASA does in terms of understanding the weather and the atmosphere and what's happening here on Earth, even understanding our volcanic systems, a lot of those are NASA missions and contributed to by other agencies as well. But those missions, some of which are struggling with funding right now, are actually helping us to protect our country. So it's really important to keep the science intact and to think very carefully about how we move forward. And before we dismantle, I will say, different institutes and organizations and departments that are studying those science areas. So let's see, somebody said something about satellite. We had the satellite that broadcasted the moon. Yes, you are absolutely correct. That is correct. Canberra was a really important part of that. Also with Apollo 13, they were really important. Fred Hayes, who was in the command module and was responsible really for saving the lives of everyone aboard Apollo 13, could not have done that without the help of Canberra, Australia. When you think about Deep Space Network, you have satellites and spacecraft orbiting and traveling between one celestial body and another, so one planet and another, or the moon and the Earth. And in order to send communications to those, we have to have a method of not necessarily line of sight, and I'm not the perfect person to talk about these details, but I'm going to do my best. But we have to have communications channels around the world so that as we are orbiting, the bodies are orbiting each other, we can send messages directly from one part of Earth as Earth is orbiting and one part is losing contact with the spacecraft, another part has to pick that up. So Canberra, Madrid, and Goldstone, California were part of Deep Space Network, and we used to actually have another group of folks that were working on Deep Space Network that were mobile, and that was a fleet of ships, and they were called Aria. So that's an interesting thing that you guys can also look up, kind of a fun fact. And again, yes, Canberra has been a big part of all of those, as well as Spain. I have not yet gotten to Spain to interview the folks that worked on Deep Space Network, but I do hope to do that at some point. The stories of everybody that worked on these missions are so critically important. I had someone say to me recently in a workshop that I did, teaching people about the importance of conducting oral history interviews, but also how to conduct them in a manner that is authentic and deep instead of superficial, which is often what happens. And one of the important things to remember is that the missions that are successful are not successful. Oh, there's a cardinal sitting right there, or a blue jay, or something. Stellar jay, I think, maybe. Anyway, the missions are successful not just because of the leaders and the people that you hear about in the news. In fact, the missions are successful because of the thousands of people that you never hear about. And that was really where this project began. The individuals that nobody had ever heard of before were critical to saving the Viking mission and every other mission. And the roles that they played are not the roles of people that are out in front of the spotlight and the camera all the time. Some of us, myself included, don't particularly like to be on camera. We do this reluctantly sometimes to share a story that's important. But many people that worked on the missions are never heard from. In fact, many of them don't have their names listed on any documents as well. So it's really important for us to find those individuals through word of mouth, oral histories, and to acknowledge them if they've passed, to learn as much as we can about them, what their contributions to those missions were, and to be sure that they are part of that legacy in written and oral history format as much as possible. We have another comment from Shane. Canberra Capital Territory. It's funny to visit fireworks and marijuana were, I think, legal. Oh well. I really don't have a lot to say about that. It's not space related, but good luck. Nonetheless, yeah, again, I really appreciate everybody that's been following our journey. If you haven't already listened to the folks that have left us little short videos on what does space mean to you, please go and do that. And if you would like to contribute your own thoughts about what does space mean to you, you can also do that in the comments of the videos that I've already posted. So I would love to hear from you guys about what space means to you. And I got to sign off now, head to my next location. And again, this is where I am. This is not fancy. It's not an expensive hotel. It's a campsite. And I'm spending my time traveling across the U.S. in my van, collecting the stories and sharing the stories of the Viking mission. And I hope that you'll continue to follow us. And please feel free to comment. And if you have questions, I'll do my best to answer them, as long as they're space related. Thanks again, folks. See you in my streams.